What's good, YouTube? And welcome to a mostly ban list proof market watch. I have tons of interesting discussions and conversations along with the correct microphone for them. I apologize on the last video, I still had my streaming setup mic, which is a Yeti all the way across the room, not an internal or webcam mic. So all the sound has to bounce around the room to get to over there while I'm talking away from it. That being said, let's get to the cards, starting with Super Rare Raikou outperforming the quarter century secret rare. What determines top rarity? Is it Konami's rarity list? It's usually actually a community consensus, like Super Rare Book of Moon, hands down, beats everything else. And here, Super Rare out of an OG pack first edition is still doing nice, and the unlims themselves are still really up there for near mints as well. But to find a first edition near mint Raikou on the market, we start at $17, and the graphs are a little broken on TCG Player, but we can see that Rarity 2 hasn't done the most, and this dip off is actually not proper because a ton of the data is from light play and heavy play, etc. sales, where people are spending on those heavy plays what they could get a quarter century secret rare one for about at around $7. So outperforming 2-1 on first editions, I think OG Raikou for now is what the community has kind of decided on. It also comes up with Archlord Christia, the original unlimited near mints, which are very hard to get near mint, by the way. We talk about it here and there, but SOVR has that foil exposed on the cards like some other champion pack sets have as well. But if we're looking at even light plays, they are hitting above the quarter century secret rare, and this isn't them coming down slowly over time. They've been sitting around here for a good little bit, but to find an actually near mint, we see that they're listed around 90, and yeah, you do see pictures with the light plays where that exposed foiling I'm talking about is. Whereas if we go all the way back through these listings to the quarter century secret rare, it's done nothing but come down despite its really warm reception by the TCG. People applauded this when it came out. I thought it was a pretty good move to add it to stuff like those collector rare sets, give a little something more, and it tried to stabilize at multiple points, yet it just continues for the most part to sink. Now, it is actually up a couple dollars versus some recent sales, and is trying to settle around 60 something, but that's still 2/3 an unlimited near mint, let alone the nosebleed price of the first edition OG near mints, which I know there is that extra layer to it. Very hard to get near mint, but it does seem to be beating it consistently. Battles of Legend has like 5 buyouts, and every single market Yugi tuber feels like they're freaking out over the price of the box because it crossed 100. It's already back down towards 88 from a couple of sellers. I do want to remind you, the problem with loose boxes on product like this is if you hit enough quarter century secret rares in an opening, some dirty vendors will go ahead and put the rest to the side, assuming there's no more big hits most likely, and sell those off. So when it comes down to it, people get shakier about product like this, but then they go, I could pull the big one, I could get Magia, and then you still have people jump in on loose boxes instead of sealed cases, which, yeah, the lotto ticket in here has people scrambling still, as it's above 700 and only a couple sales till it's back towards 900. Also, Sky Striker Ace Ray quarter century secret rare has re-spiked. And then going through other cards, I faced this dude so many times in the Master Duel Festival, and that might have led some people to actually buying it because it was doing nothing up till this point, and suddenly it's around 55, 56. Master Duel still does translate to our TCG market. I would have missed this one without Sparkman. I would have just glazed past it. So shoutouts to another market tuber. I was watching his video, and it looks like that Sprite's getting a little something looked up with only a couple of listers on this. Even though it's not up that much, people might be looking at Sprite variants for the ban list to help it. or it could just end up hurting this buyout and doing nothing. But I do think the sprite's a little underestimated. And then Wing Karibo level 6 quarter century secret rare is going up right now, lowest 50, and then up from there. I do think that it is a bit of a GX collectible symbol of Wing Karibo and the flame arm cannon, but I don't know. I don't take it all that serious. My initial call was Snatch Steel would do good over time. It's the safe pick, right? And it's doing okay for itself. Also, I did point out when the race started going up first that Rose wasn't being targeted, and now it has very few quantities and does go up quickly, yet has not gone up yet. So it feels like with that inflating price of the box, people are targeting cards all over the place in the quarter century secret rare zones because they'll fall out less, even though people are opening packs for Magia. It's kind of an interesting 1-2 punch. I was looking through OTS pack 25 because of that Exodia that's got the pit stains and only 7% of the picture is hollow, and its price, I do agree, it'll end up going up probably versus $10, $11 towards maybe a stabilize at 20, but it's already fallen from 20, right? But in there, we have hollow upgrades to the Skull Servant archetype with White Princess and White Prince. I think it's a pretty good time to pick them up using that TCG player link in the description down below, costing you nothing extra to support the channel directly for the cards you'd already be buying. I don't expect these to like skyrocket in price or do anything crazy, but I do think they're decent penny stonks because when we look at the history of like the OTS King of the Skull Servants, which is a little more iconic than these, it is pretty much nothing but up over this last year, despite having competition from a Speed Duel Super, and the ultra rare out of Speed Duels is doing really well for itself to very few copies and actual sales here and there, people biting on a playset recently. Now, the true max rarity, I can never resist this gag, is going to be the prize card version, of course. You have the giant one behind me, and I bought the oversized before the giant popped up for sale as well. So if anyone wants to buy an oversized from me and you live in the DF dub, might do a hookup if I don't have to ship it. But I can't resist. I'm ready for spooky season. You could be too. And yeah, sometimes Halloween actually causes buyouts. Weird enough. We've seen it happen before. I wanted to talk about the Akiza token because it's lagging behind the other token waifu-ness effect. You can see one here at 550. I do think that with Infinite Forbidden being a better set than Light of Destruction, I think that this set is being ripped open even at retail packs just to try to get hits on the cards, and so people are going to sell off other pieces for less mayhaps, including this token. However, there's another conversation, and that's that it's easier than ever to get things from Japan, and you can go over to eBay. I know the rare look at eBay these days, and a 25th stamped super rare is only $3. Sometimes it's actually cheaper to buy individual cards on US eBay where you don't have to pay a forwarding service or something like that from a website, and it just comes to your front door eventually. And then the secret rare is around 13, which kind of caps the ceiling. 13, 14, 25th stamp. Now, I do want to say the English quote on here is cool. They did censor here. They just blotted out one line and matted it on her chest versus like you get the actual line here that they've gone ahead and cropped out. So that's interesting to me that they bothered to censor even token art when it comes to Konami. But you also have the little Yugi token coming down slowly from its hype before. We can see it's tried to actually, that's a year-long graph, hold the line for a good bit multiple times, and it's done nothing but slowly come down. It does have a competitor token, but not out of the 25th stuff. And this actually starts as a rare here before it goes to an upgrade ultra rare that's much harder to pull. So having a nice holographic token of this, even from the OCG, is much harder than the Akiza one, and you'll want to pay attention to even those specific tokens for what you might want to pay versus having that quote in English and the different versions there. I do always love to tie these things in because the OCG gets sometimes largely ignored, but it can have an impact when people are looking up stuff like this, and it is hitting under what I would expect early. I would think it would at least try to follow the Yugi hype and then deflate if it was going to deflate into its market cycle. Akiza is one that the community is very crazy about, but waifu tax isn't what it once was. This quarter-century secret rare Silent Magician has kinda stabilized downward under $7. I remember the ultra rare being 40 to 50, and not even because of the new support, just because it hadn't had a reprint in forever. So this one being where it's at is kind of interesting. I can see this being 15 eventually, but Rarity Collection 2 stonks like that's every single card you could start trying to find reasons for, it feels like at times. I wanted to talk about the Kaiba US briefcase because it's selling very well for itself. There's some that are cheaper on eBay than these prices right now, and they've sold out through to the 1400 point, and some of the cards inside are super interesting. I think the Battle Ox for LOB format is something I'm still hopium waiting for it to come down a little bit for my English deck. I have the extended super rare original art from the OCG. And speaking of original art, Monster Reborn got its Lart in here, and both it and the Lart feel like they compete with each other a little. At first it tried to climb, people paid a little more, and now it's done nothing but come down, as also, while it struggles to compete, there's the Lart Reborn here too. Let me know what you think about the fact that they did reprint the Lart, even if it's a super limited, hard to get, crazy to order product that cost a lot. Like, they still reprinted a Lart there, didn't they? And then I do think you have that original vanilla to here. There is a lot of value inside for unique cards to the set if they don't get reprinted, but it did so much better than the OCG case, which is now versus the TCG listing, almost 1/5 the price with the extended art, secret, blue eyes, the cards, etc. I am flabbergasted that it's doing this well in the TCG, but you did get the extra quarter-century secret rare blue eyes with the world behind it, one of my favorites, even though it's tablet art on the front. I love this one, so it's wild to watch because I snubbed this. I didn't pre-order. I waited to see if they would have extended our English R's, and instead, people have been critical of how this actually turned out, yet it is doing well for itself. It's wild. Also, the stainless steel Egyptian god cards that I did also snub, they are under MSRP. What is happening with this, John? Well, Japan also ended up releasing this, and let me see if I can actually pull up a picture here. Live editing done cheap. Import an image file and bring it up. I swear I'm not trying to actually get extra time here in the video. I did prepare this. Alright, there we are. We have 15,000 plus. That's 15, I think. I can barely see it even on my screen. 15,900 something, so almost 16,000. And this is a random one for the JP edition. And some sellers aren't necessarily showing or saying it's JP, even though there's not a big difference besides that imprint in the back of the case. So be aware that, there's way more of these than you might have ever thought there would be. I'm seeing in the actual Japanese web market them go for as low as $265, $250, as well as a graded set go for under 400 in PSA 10s, although I like them more in this packaging than I like them in slabs. Now, on the odd end of the market, Zoomies is doing a collab with Bear Walker. If you're not familiar with Bear Walker, they do those really iconic Pokemon skateboards. Ours have not looked quite as good, yet are still developing quite the secondary market. So from 10 to 2, and you can check locations down below on Zoomy's main site, they are doing multiple games, raffles, and things around an event. It's kind of weird that it's going to be on Yu-Gi-Oh's most popular day at locals, but if you have the Zoomies that are located nearby you, this is kind of what they're going for. Now, I also want to point out, because I like to poke holes in these things, that they never did say limited on SDCC. It's the first 500 are available here, which I did bring up before, but they do say specifically one of one rod and certain other things. So they do express that some would be limited or special edition, and with that, the sales are crazy versus $95. The Exodia heads are all going for crazy bucks, and that's the design I wanted myself. And when we go down, you can actually see some of those iconic Pokemon Pokemon ones from their World Championship this year that are going wild. This is more the style of board I personally like by them. This feels kind of similar to the Madrid skateboards, but with more extended art that I do respect. Now, when we go to the lowest listings and auctions, you can see Obelisk is going up here, etc. So, I personally would wait to see what's at this event, how limited things are at the event, and instead of paying $400 for the Exodia heads, which have all actually sold out on eBay. Yeah, it's pretty wild. And I do think on the Exodia limbs, you get an Exodia art on the front as well in the wood that does look pretty cool, but then the Bear Walker is stamped over him, so you don't get to display the art. Speaking of limited, look who's still up for sale. Again, they don't say limited anywhere on the page, is what I'm making fun of, as people were like, oh, I'm gonna go 9 deep on this, 3 deep on this. I got my one personal one, and did tell y'all, I don't think that it's necessarily limited until they put that phrase on the page. And if we control find limited, it's still not there. Thanks for watching today's Market Watch. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy these more in-depth and directional discussions. I wanted something more ban list proof. I know Battles of Legend definitely isn't necessarily ban list proof. Like, you could get a hype foray on a ban list to some degree. You could get, the opposite on Sprite Sprint. But for the most part, I think we did some pretty good discussions on a proper mic today. Thanks for watching.